Hey everybody, this is my 10-gallon Pea Puffer tank that I have in my office, and today we're just going to do a before and after water change, but I'm going to begin treatment for the green slime cyanobacteria again. I've said before, it's no biggie that I have to do this from time to time. I just kind of look at it the same way I would look at Algae Control. It is getting a little overgrown in here. I had kept it at bay for a while, and now it's back. And the reason it comes back, I always have people say I should do this and I should do that. It would be a monumental task for me to try to eradicate this stuff out of all of my tanks. I've got 14 tanks, I've got all sorts of equipment and buckets and nets, and I move plants around, and I have snails that, grow in other tanks. It's not worth it. I could spend a month eradicating it from all of my tanks, and in 2 or 3 months, it would probably somehow get introduced into my tanks again because cyanobacteria is pretty common. It's pretty ubiquitous, in fact. It's everywhere. So the next time I brought home a snail or something like that from the outdoors, or I put a native fish into my native aquarium, chances are I would start the whole process over again. So the long and short is, I just don't really care that much. It's not that big a deal. I don't lose any sleep over trying to fight the cyanobacteria or anything like that. But from time to time, it requires a little more than a simple wiping down of the glass and water change, and that time has come for this tank. It's pretty heavily infested in there. In fact, you can see how we've got pearling going on from the cyanobacteria, and I know it may seem as though the bubbles that are being brought in are actually just collecting on the cyanobacteria, but if that's the case, why isn't it collecting on anything else? It's only collecting on that cyanobacteria that's directly below the light, and that is because it's not air bubbles collecting on it. That is actual pearling. So the cyanobacteria is doing quite well in there. It is growing vigorously. It's keeping the water nice and oxygen saturated. That's where those bubbles come from. The water is saturated with oxygen, and it can no longer dissolve into the water, and so it stays in the gaseous state and forms little bubbles as it's produced by the cyanobacteria. So I'm going to get in there and do a little bit of hand cleaning. I'm going to wipe down the glass, and I'm going to use a siphon vac and try to suck as much of the physical bacteria out of the tank as I can. But the real treatment's going to begin after the water change, and this is the product I'm going to use. I've used it before. It's Ultralife Blue Green Slime Stain Remover. It's good stuff. It works. It works fairly well. The other piece of the equation will be this little air pump. The process uses a lot of oxygen. I'm not exactly sure what's going on or how it kills it, but it is a biological process that uses a ton of oxygen. I have experimented in the past where I didn't use an air stone, and I tried simply using a waterfall type effect, much more extreme than what you can see there. I let the water fall about 1 inch into the tank, thinking that would give me enough oxygen, and I lost one of my fish. So I don't know if it wasn't enough oxygen or if it was something else going on, but I've never done it without the air stone since then, and coincidentally I've also never lost a fish when using the air stone. So if you're going to use the blue-green slime stain remover, take the warning about using the air stone seriously. You absolutely have to use the air stone. So that's what I'm getting ready to do. I'm going to do the water change, get the tank wiped down a little bit. We're going to mix up the amount to mix into the water. You never mix stuff like that in the tank directly. Always mix it in another container. Once it's fully dissolved, you can then pour it into the tank as a liquid. Don't ever pour any kind of granular stuff into the tank and let it dissolve in the tank. That's never a good idea. So there's your before. And that's not really your after. All I've done so far is the water change. I used the simple siphon hose, not a gravel vac. It's just basically this. It's an open-ended piece of vinyl hose. It used to have a small gravel vac on the end, but it wound up just sucking the gravel up anyway, so I tore the larger plastic piece off, and I just use, the piece of hose. So it makes for a good siphon. All I did was sort of go around and scrape it across stuff. That cyanobacteria breaks loose really easily. I should have tried to get it on video because it just came off in sheets off of this rock here. And unfortunately, when I grabbed a hold of that water wisteria, it sucked it up into the tube, and I wound up uprooting it. So I did have to put that back in the ground. I did not wipe the glass down. I simply rubbed the hose against it, and it just came off in sheets. So it's not perfect, and there's still plenty in there. But at this point, if it was not for me shooting video, just actual labor time, I've probably got all of 10 minutes invested in this so far. I haven't changed the filter yet, and I still have to go and dump out the bucket. I usually leave the bucket here until I'm done with the filter change. That's why I've got some place to put the sloppy wet filter. But this is what I got. You can't really see it. Let me see if I can stir that up a little bit to get an idea of that. Gives you a little better idea of just how much scum that all came out with the siphon. That was a simple water change. Now, it was a big water change. I probably did about, I don't know, 5 gallons, something like that out of it. And when you consider the fact that I've got gravel and everything in there, 5 gallons is more than a 50% water change. So now, that leaves me with the question, do I really feel like treating it? And this is exactly my point. This is 10 minutes worth of work, and the tank looks that nice again. Am I really that worried about it? It took weeks and weeks and weeks for it to get that dirty, and it took me 10 minutes to clean it. So, I'm going to continue as I've started, and I'm going to go ahead and treat it. I brought the air pump up. I've got the stain remover out. All I got to do is mix up the proper amount and pour it into the tank. So I am going to go ahead and finish going through the motions, and we'll see how long it lasts this time. But once I do that, we'll do one last video, and we'll have a look at what the tank looks like as I pour the solution in. Alright, so for the big anticlimactic conclusion, that's pretty much what it looks like once you've got it dissolved into water, and it pretty much looks like you're pouring some more water into the tank. So now that's going to do its thing for 48 hours, and then I'm going to come in and do a water change. I will probably do a second dose and let it run for 48 more hours. Why not? You know, I've already got the air stone in there. The stuff's inexpensive. It takes 2 spoonfuls for every 15 gallons. So that's 7.5 gallons per spoonful, and I guess there's probably about 8 gallons in this tank. So I did a nice hearty, well-rounded spoonful. Little spoon comes with the package. Once you purchase it, you'll know what they're talking about. It comes with it. So I did a sort of well-rounded one in this tank, and that's all we're going to do. If I do a second dose, I'll do the same thing. I'll do a nice well-rounded dose. My experience has shown me that overdoing it a little bit, especially if you've got a really heavy infestation, is not going to hurt. However, just remember about the air stone, or you could run into some serious issues. So that's it. We're going to let it run for 2 days, and then we'll come back and we'll do the water change, and we'll decide then whether we're going to pack the air stone up and call it good, or we're going to do a secondary treatment. So thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. You never know what you're going to get. Don't forget, this is my Pea Puffer tank, not to be confused with my brackish tank in the basement, which houses my figure 8 puffer. So thanks again for watching this one. Hope you enjoyed it. See you real soon in the next one.